Now that the 2023 season is done and 2024 has started, I'm finally getting around to rank my top 10 favorite roller coasters. Now, you'll mostly see people doing top 25s, top 50s, or even top 100s, but I really haven't been on enough coasters to do that without just putting a bunch of kiddie coasters on here. So today I'll just be counting down my top 10 favorite coasters. So with that all cleared up, let's get into it. Number 11, Hulk. Okay, I know I said I was just doing a top 10, but I just wanted to include this really fast. The only reason why this is at number 11 and not higher is I don't really remember much of it. I rode this at the park when we went the week before Velocicoaster opened, and I haven't been back since. I remember getting off and really liking it, but not too much else. Overall, I know I would really like it if I got to ride it again, but until then, if I ever do, I will just have to place it here. Number 10, Raptor. Yes, Hulk should be above this and my number 9, but again, it's been a while, so I'm just placing this above it. Raptor is a fairly intense B&M invert at Cedar Point. The drop is followed by an intense vertical loop, followed by a 0G roll and a Cobra roll. Then you enter the brake run, followed by the second half, which is just as good as the first half. Raptor has a very long layout and is overall just a very fun coaster. Number 9, Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is definitely my favorite B&M wing coaster. On the wingover drop, the coaster seems much bigger than what it looks like. The drop over the wingover is solid, and the camelback gives an okay amount of floater. The first keyhole gave no near miss element for me, but the second one actually was a pretty decent head chopper. To me, it's almost like the first one was just to cover the second keyhole. The second half of the ride that some people call boring is more of just a gliding element that doesn't provide any thrills, but what it does do is it gives a nice glide, and it is a good way to end off the ride. Number 8, Thunderhead. I'm not going to talk about this too much. If you want my full thoughts, I'll put a card on the screen, or you can just go watch this video. Basically, this is just a very fun ride with an insanely twisted layout. The drop, turns, and airtime hills are all very fun, and with the recent retrack, you take all these elements much faster and smoother. Number 7, Millennium Force. This at one point was the tallest and fastest coaster in the world. Its layout has a lot of bank turns and straight track. This ride is 10 times better in the front row, as you have an unobstructed view and the wind in your face is just a lot of fun. The speed hill at the end gives some good floater, and the first bank turn may be gray out a bit. This ride even interacts with the queue line a bit, as the coaster goes right by you as you stand in line. And then on the lift hill, you get great views of Lake Erie and the rest of Cedar Point. The drop is one of the best out there, and the whole ride you feel like you're flying. One of the best things about this ride is that it maintains its speed the whole time, so the start feels just as fast as the end. Number 6, Hagrid's. I haven't ridden this one since the same trip as I rode Hulk, but I remember this one much better. I went into this blindly, so I had no idea about the backward spike or the drop track. This is by far the best kids coaster I've ever ridden, and it's pretty crazy how a kids coaster can get this high on my list. One of the best parts about this is it just keeps going. You've already been going for a while, and then you just keep hitting more and more launches. And then there's the theming. This ride supposedly cost $300 million, and the theming is next level. Number 5, Storm Chaser. I got to ride this just as the 2023 season was ending for the first time ever, so it might not have been at its full potential when I got to ride it. But regardless, this RMC is one of the best coasters out there. The barrel roll drop is awesome, and this coaster has some of the most intense airtime hills I've ever been on. I got 7 rides on Storm Chaser from multiple different rows. The barrel drop gives good hang time, and then the camelback after that gives good sustained airtime. The 0G roll gives a great feeling of weightlessness, and then following that you go into a double up, followed by a valley and a double down. The helix at the end is taken a lot slower than the rest of the elements, but it's still really fun. Number 4, Air Force 1. This is another coaster I rode when it wasn't at peak condition, but it's still an insane ride. This might be a spot or two higher if it was running faster. The drop is another insane RMC drop, and the Raven Trust Dive gives some good hang time. After that, you go into a speed hill, followed by a 0G stall. This stall is the largest out of any in the United States, and you are upside down for so long that you can play a whole game of rock, paper, scissors before flipping back over. The overbank turn is one of the best elements on the ride, as it is a very aggressive hill that makes me feel like the train is about to fly off the track. The double up gives some insane airtime, and after that you go into my favorite part of the ride, which is the arcade roll, that you take so fast that you get whip and a feeling of weightlessness. After that you go into an off-axis hill, followed by a turnaround. At the end of the turnaround is the second 0G roll, which is just like the first, just taken much slower. And then to finish off the ride, there's a quad down that has some of the most aggressive airtime in the world. Overall, this is easily one of the best coasters in the world. Number 3, Maverick. This ride is definitely the most intense coaster on my list. The whole ride just rips your face off because of how intense it is. The The drop literally makes you stand up because of how much it launches you over that hill. You look at it and you wonder why they don't make the launch faster, but then you get on it and realize that if it was any faster over that hill, it most likely would not be approved because of rider safety. After that, you go into a bank turn that, like all the other turns on this ride, are super intense. After a few high-speed turns, you go into an airtime hill that, again, makes you freaking stand up. The launch has one of the biggest kicks of any coaster I've ever been on, and the setting above the water is really cool. I really don't mind the restraints, but I do think that they could be better if they had the newer intimate restraints. Number 2, lightning rod. Okay, so this might be a little bit biased, but you can't deny the fact that this ride isn't one of the best in the world. Like Thunderhead, I already made a video talking about these, so I'm not going to go into too much depth. You can just go watch that video. This ride's drop is one of the best, and the whole ride has some of the best pacing of any coaster out there. From start to finish, you are going at an insane speed the whole time. The hill before the quad down gives the most airtime on the ride, and the quad down itself also gives some insane ejector. Number 1, Steel Vengeance. I mean, what else were you expecting? One of the best coasters in the world with the most airtime of any coaster in the world. And the only time you can take a breath on the whole thing is on the mid-course brake run, and that's only for like 2 seconds. The outer bank is one of the most aggressive moments of any coaster in the world, and all the airtime moments are also very aggressive. This ride keeps its pacing throughout the whole ride, and the second half is even better than the first. All the inversions are done to perfection, and my favorite of which either being the first or the third 0G roll. In the second half, you are inside the structure of the coaster, which makes it feel like you have no idea where you're going. And right before you go into that, there is a really good head chopper if you are towards the back of the train. It is an insanely long coaster that is also one of the smoothest as well. This ride really is a perfect coaster, and I would highly recommend it. That'll do it for my top 10 favorite roller coasters. How long did you make it through this video without getting triggered? If you liked it, consider watching some of my other videos and comment below your favorite roller coasters you've ever been on. But that'll do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Sub our favorite coaster disappears.